We'll cruise down to the southwesternmost corner of the United States, where a crisis is erupting on the U.S.-Mexico border. No, I'm not talking about immigration. This border emergency involves a most unpleasant form of water pollution, human waste. San Diego-based reporter Bianca Bruno trudged through the mucky waters of the Tijuana River Basin to bring us this report.
We're walking through fresh horse tracks, clearly fresh horse droppings. This trail is officially closed. Last time we came down here, this was unnavigable. There were giant puddles and like a car bumper was down here. So this is all contaminated.
And it's really muddy here.
Yeah. So the trash flows. People dump their trash from the top of the hill. It goes down. The people who live in that canyon have makeshift homes. They use what they can. And then the rest of it flows out. Careful, there's...
Oh, thank you.
That's interesting.
That's not horse poop.
Nope. It is not. I think we should go back.
Okay.
The Tijuana River is full of poop. The river snakes through northern Mexico and crosses the U.S.-Mexico border through tributaries throughout San Diego County before dumping into the Pacific Ocean in the southernmost beach town in California, Imperial Beach. Bethany Case, a co-chair of Surfrider San Diego's Clean Border Water Now campaign, is an Imperial Beach resident who has been working for years to get the international pollution crisis cleaned up.
We started out as a bunch of moms. So in 2017, there was a huge flow. So we went down to the beach with the kids. We didn't know any better. We went down to the beach, took pictures, and decided we were going to start raising awareness. It was a matter of like, this is our home, this is our recreation area, and we can't use it, and we're irritated. And it's gone from irritation to lots worse than that at this point.
That flow Case mentioned, it spilled upwards of 250 million gallons of raw sewage into the Tijuana River and U.S. waters in February 2017. Crumbling wastewater infrastructure failed during an unusually wet winter in the Mexican border city, which has seen an explosion in its population the past few decades. At the time, San Diego residents were well aware of the transboundary pollution problem. Wastewater and sewage flows through the Tijuana River had been documented in the border region since the 1930s. The city of San Diego has declared a continuous state of emergency due to Mexican sewage runoff since the 1990s. But local officials went on a media campaign following the 2017 spill and raised awareness of the decades-long problem, putting pressure on state, federal, and international governments to solve the crisis.
Take a look behind me. That big yellow sign is warning people not to get into the water because of pollution. Pollution so bad, the mayor here is calling it a tsunami of sewage.
This by far was the worst sewage spill in over a decade, if not ever.
Imperial Beach Mayor Serge Tadina did not hold back.
This is a tsunami of sewage spills.
The pressure worked. The state and local cities filed suit in 2018 against the International Boundary and Water Commission, the federal agency tasked with managing transboundary flows on the U.S. side of the border. The case has been paused as the parties have been in settlement negotiations to resolve claims the commission violated the Clean Water Act by allowing untreated wastewater to flow into California waterways. More importantly, there's finally some money to try and plug the sewage problem. As part of the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, $300 million was allocated to the Border Water Infrastructure Program to fix the pollution problem. The Environmental Protection Agency recently announced it selected a slate of projects on both sides of the border to clean contaminated wastewater. At the top of the list is more than doubling the capacity of the water treatment plant run by the IBWC. But politicians and community members didn't just put pressure on the feds to fix the problem. Locally, the county responded to public demand to ensure water quality safety for recreation by exceeding state testing requirements.
I work for the County of San Diego's Department of Environmental Health and Quality, and I run the Beach and Bay Water Quality Monitoring Program.
That's Joseph Palmer. He runs the team, which has a 24-hour turnaround for water quality tests taken up and down San Diego's coast.
From the South County area, which would be from the Mexico-US border through to Coronado, we typically take 9 samples every day. Because there's a public demand, we have increased the amount of sampling that we're doing. We're required to sample in the summer months only by state law, and we're only to sample specific beaches, and then only once per week. So we have gone above and beyond by the support of the Board of Supervisors and the executive team in the county. We collect a huge number of samples from this area, and that's increased over the last few years through Board of Supervisor support. And because of the potential impact from sewage from cross-border flows, we have increased the sampling in this area to make sure people are safe.
I tagged along with Palmer after a recent rainstorm to collect water samples in Imperial Beach and north in Coronado, where recruits training to be Navy SEALs have become sick after being exposed to sewage from the Tijuana River flow.
So can you explain how you collect the sample?
Yes, so here we are in the Crown Cove area of San Diego Bay. It's a beautiful day. And the sampler comes into the water with an extended long pole. And at the end of the pole is a small water bottle that's about 120 milliliters. That's put into the water so that the water is about 1 to 2 feet deep. And the water bottle is put into the water and turned around to collect the water, so that we take a representative and repeatable sample. Then when the sampler gets to the beach, they make sure to drop a little bit of the water so that there's about an inch of space above the water level in the actual sample. And that's because if there are any bacteria in there, we want to make sure that they have some oxygen that's in that bottle so they are retained alive.
The water samplers test for 3 bacteria.
And those are total coliform, fecal coliform, or E. coli in this case, and also Enterococcus. And we assess that when we get the results to make sure whether they are high or low, and then we can make a determination of whether to give a warning to people to come to the beach or not.
And the beaches have been closed for weeks at a time.
The border through the first house in Imperial Beach, that would be what we call the Tijuana Slough shoreline. The Tijuana Slough for this year through 10/26 of 2021 has been closed for 205 days of the year. A large proportion of that is 142 days from the first of the year through May 23. And that would be because that's when the Tijuana River was flowing for the entire time.
Due to the ongoing contamination, providing beachgoers real-time updates is imperative. So the county is working with the EPA to be the first region in the nation to do water quality testing with same-day results. It's expected to be implemented next year. What about the $300 million that's supposed to solve the sewage problem?
The signing of this agreement, the dollars are going to flow to clean up the sewage spills from the Tijuana River Valley once and for all, is a shining example of what we can do when we work together.
It turns out it's going to take more than double that, at least $627 million.
This assumes that we get more money from Congress than the $300 million that we currently have. A lot of the local stakeholders and mayors basically said, don't let the $300 million sort of limit your thinking. What could you do if, say, you had twice that amount of money?
That's Doug Leiden with the EPA. He shared at a recent public meeting more than doubling the capacity of the wastewater treatment plant is an essential solution to deal with the sewage crisis that will only get worse as Tijuana's population increases. Once complete, the plant will treat 60 million gallons a day.
So that provides for a lot more room for growth. We know that Tijuana is going to continue to grow. We don't want to have to face this problem in another 3 or 4 years.
Other projects include building a new treatment facility to divert Tijuana River water and sending treated waters back to Mexico for reuse. A new treatment plant near the coast in Tijuana is also considered high priority. But U.S. dollars aren't enough to cover it, so EPA officials are meeting with decision makers in Mexico City to make sure Mexico has some skin in the game.
We're working very, very closely with Mexico to reach agreements on some of these binational solutions. We recognize that a solution that just deals with the problem on the U.S. side is really not going to get the best bang for the buck. We also realize that a lot of these solutions actually have great benefits to Mexico, and so we're trying to figure out, agreements on cost share for operations and maintenance, for capital improvement projects. All those decisions need to be made in Mexico City, and so that's what I'm doing here, working, of course, with the state of Baja.
Now the projects will go through the environmental review process. Leiden said design can happen as soon as the end of 2022, with groundbreaking in 2023. Officials hope the binational plan is completed by 2030. That timeline was to be expected. At least that's what Case and other advocates who've been working to plug the sewage problem once and for all said.
Our goal is to keep raising awareness, to keep pushing our elected officials, and to push to get the government to approve one of these projects to start working on it. We were told when we started in 2017, even if they started something right now, it would take a decade. It's been documented as far back as the 30s. So what are we actually waiting for?
The EPA has estimated that up to 3.5 million Americans get sickened every year from swimming in sewage-contaminated waters.